And welcome back to the J&D Sports Show. I'm your host, Joshua Velasquez.
And I'm Dylan Davis.
Now, first off, not breaking news, but in huge news in the NFL. Of course, they have all the new NFL rules changes. For instance, the extended replay, the offense and defensive pass interference, as well as those no more blindside blocks. Now, the blindside blocks is a big one, but the biggest one that everyone is looking at right now is the replay of the pass interference on offense and defense. And so, obviously, this is stemming back from the NFC Championship game when the Saints player was clearly had defensive pass interference and against him, and the referee did not do anything, which then negated them to go into the Super Bowl and having a chance to win. And a lot of people are liking this idea of the replay challenge, but me personally, I have a couple of questions. I don't know if you've thought about it yet, but do you like it so far, what they're doing? I like the concept. I just think I have a lot of questions on some of the aspects of it.
Yeah, I agree. I like the concept because of everything, from the controversies that have been happening throughout the NFL for, the past couple of years, but even beyond that. But I like the concept because obviously you want consistency and you want those calls to be right. So sometimes, how fast the game of football is in the NFL, where a lot of things are bang plays, and sometimes you don't have enough time to evaluate what happened, and if you can go back and look at it, maybe you can make a correction or a change. But like you said, it's going to be a work in progress, and I'm not sure how they're going to be able to effectively use it, because sometimes maybe it can be a good thing, and then it can also be used in a bad way. And
the biggest thing for me, obviously, people who don't know, it's just going to be included in the challenges. So coaches still have the challenges, and now it's expanded to that. And then under the 2 minutes, just like that, the coaches can't use the challenge flags, but it's good to go in the booth. But my biggest thing is just say teams are playing, and a pass interference was called, and then they reviewed it, and they realized it wasn't pass interference, but it was defensive holding. But defensive holding now is not included in that. So they can't throw the flag on defensive holding.
Right.
So even
I don't know if they can change the call either. You know what I mean?
Exactly. All they can do is say, was it pass interference? Yes or no?
Right.
No, technically it was not because, it was holding. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes, some referees might keep it because, okay, well, since he was holding, we have to keep it. But some referees are going to be like, well, no, this was not, so we can't call it. And, and I have a feeling that this is going to happen with the Patriots. That the Patriots are going to have a pass interference against them late in the game, in the first couple of weeks. Bill Belichick is going to throw the flag, they're going to review it, and it's going to be on a third or fourth down. And they're going to see, after review of the play, there was no pass interference. It would be so and so down. So and so, and I think because they can't say, oh, well, since it wasn't pass interference, it was holding because the holding is not in the replay. They're not allowed to review that, so they can't just, say it was that.
Right, and then also I feel like, with this, obviously the format, like you said, is going to be the same as a challenge in a game. So, if it's early in the game and there's you think that there was pass interference, say you use that challenge, and say you lose the challenge, you already lost the challenge early in the game. And challenges can be a big key component to a game. When it's whether you think that somebody fumbled the ball or the placement of whether it's a first down or however many yards you get and whatnot. And I think maybe at some point some of these challenges are going to be wasted And, and obviously it's going to take a lot of analytics to be able to just throw that flag and be sure. But we've seen in other types of plays, where you thought it was clearly a fumble and they don't call it a fumble and whatnot. And I think it's kind of a big gamble of having that opportunity to challenge, because you could easily lose it and it can go against you, and that's always, like I said, it can be crucial to lose those challenges early on.
Well, not even that, because that's always, losing challenges are always going to happen, and that
right there. But a lot of,
like, that's going to be on the coach. That's going to be on the
coaches
right there. Like, that's all on the coaches. I think that's the correct thing to do. That make it a challenge flag. I mean, look what happened with Sean Payton when he played when the Saints played Dallas. Again, I'm a Dallas fan, but I credit thanking Sean Payton and how poorly he used his challenge flags. So now they're just going to have to think about that as the game goes on. So I don't really think that's going to be the issue. The biggest issue is the one I said about, what happens if it's actually, not pass interference but holding. They can't do anything about it. But another one is that a pass interference call is a judgment call. You may think this is pass interference. I may think it's pass interference. But someone else, they might not think it's a pass interference. You see this all the time in the booth when they go to, one of the, where they go to the head official or the old head official, on Fox, CBS, ESPN, all that, and they say, oh, what do you see here, Gene, or, and they say, oh, I don't really think it's pass interference, like, I don't really think this is, like, oh, I think that should have been passed. Or even a catch. Like, I think this is a catch. And it wasn't, and also they say it's not a catch. And then sometimes you can hear them.
Wonder, too, if...
And then you can hear them debating sometimes when, like, oh, I think that should have been a pass interference, that was blatant. And they disagree with a call. And, like, let's call on the field. And they said, oh, I don't think that was pass interference, blah, 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 blah. And then vice versa. They said, oh, there definitely should have been a flag thrown right there when there wasn't. So I feel like, between the referees, it's going to be very different. It's not black and white.
Yeah, and I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the refs too, because
and just time too. How much time is going to be taken off during the 2-minute drill? Because
I didn't hear what you said.
Because I said, how much time will be taken off when it's under 2 minutes? Because obviously, when it's the coaches' challenges, that's not a big deal. They're going to use those challenges anyways. But how much time are they going to be using in between the 2 minutes? Was going to slow down the game. What's the last thing you want to do for the 2-minute drill? The 2-minute drill is supposed to be 2 minutes, supposed to be bang, 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 bang. Now you're going to stop, like, oh, was it a catch? Oh, was it pass interference? Oh, was it this? Oh, was it, like, they need to keep the 2-minute drill, keep it going.
Right. But like I was saying, I wonder if it's going to make any changes in how the refs will call pass interference, because now that they have the added pressure and that added, replayability, you wonder if they're going to throw the flag as much as they would. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like would they rather throw it when it's clear? So just in case anybody just happens to challenge, they will. I mean, otherwise, if they throw it on something small, it's more apt to be reviewed, and
Exactly.
So it's like it might make them make different decisions on what pass interference is and what they're going to throw, because now they have the added pressure of, now it's going to be reviewable, and it holds them more accountable than it would before.
Exactly. And then obviously, let's just jump quick to another NFL rule change, is the elimination of all onside blocks. So it is now a 15-yard penalty if a player initiates a block in which he is moving towards or parallel to his own end line and makes forcible contact to his opponent with his helmet, forearm, or shoulder. Mm-hmm. It used to be legal unless the blocker contacted the head or neck area of the opponent. So now it is completely illegal on all of them, which I understand for player safety, especially on special teams and punts, that happens the most. Another one is the kickoff changes are made permanent, which I do not like at all. I don't think, look at the onside kick. Look how much it went down.
Yep.
The onside kick went from 21.1% from 2017 to 7.7% in 2018. But that's the negative side. But the positive side is that is that 25% fewer concussions happen in kickoffs.
Right.
Now,
that's
I don't
obviously
know
the
if
important part, too.
the concussions were fewer from just kickoffs or from league wide. That's one thing I want to look into, but that's a big drop from 21.1% to 7.7% of onside, especially when late in the playoff games when those matter big. I feel like they need to change something with it. I feel like they need to do something.
Right. And there's a couple more. One of them's kind of
Another one
I would
is
say
there's
it's a
an
little confusing.
there's a
The double foul one.
I talk about the one when you can get ejected.
No, there's something called double foul enforcement, and it's basically when both teams get a penalty on each other.
If it's scoring,
it's like a big jumbled mess, honestly.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm very confused.
Yeah, like I didn't know what exactly they meant.
There's
They
another one
other
with
stuff, but
expansion of the league order rejections.
Yep.
So a player who had committed a flagrant non-football act such as punching or fighting, you would get ejected. Now, that was last year. Now, able to eject the players for flagrant football acts too, such as a hit at the head or neck of a defensive player. This is kind of just like the NCAA, so it's going to be reviewable. If an opponent commits a personal or another one penalty enforcement option after scores. So if an opponent commits a personal or unsportsmanlike conduct foul during a touchdown, the team can now choose whether to enforce that on the extra point or 2-point conversion or on the ensuing kickoff, which I thought was always a option.
Yeah, I think what's new is just that you can now enforce it on the extra point.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that. I think that's what's basically new.
Oh,
because,
I see. Because yep. Because now, especially how another one somewhat big but not as big. If it was the NBA, it would be bigger. But since the NFL doesn't have much tiebreakers in the draft, there's a new draft order tiebreakers. So the first tiebreaker for determining draft order will remain reverse order of strength of schedule. But when teams finish with the same record and the same strength of schedule, so if say next year you have two teams, both 3-13, they're going to go strength of schedule. Say they were tied for those two toughest schedules. After that, so if after the team finished with the same record and the same strength of schedule, the NFL will no longer turn to a flip of a coin. Instead, they add 6 more traditional tiebreakers. They are the same or used to determine playoff spots and seeding. Only if the teams are tied after those 6, they will be used a coin toss, which I think is just hilarious that all these things we have, and then sometimes there might be a coin toss, and I just want to know the only thing I'm just curious, when that happens, because that happens, probably once in every couple of years, or every decent amount of years. I want to know, do the both owners go up? Do they have a ceremony? Who does it? If I'm an owner, I'm going to want to watch it to make sure that I'm not getting, screwed over. I want to see, I want to be 100% guaranteed that it is a heads or it is tails.
Oh yeah, and if they use a special coin or something, something that's significant, like whether it be like the Super Bowl coin or whatever.
Yeah. And then there was a couple ones defeated. The onside kick alternative was defeated that the Denver Broncos proposed, which would be instead of an onside kick, it would have been a 4th and 15 on the 35-yard line. I like it, but I don't think it should have been 4th and 15. That's way too much. I could see a 4th and 12. Doing one, and you don't convert it, you turn it over, and I can see why people wouldn't like it, because if it was a pass, if there's a I mean, I could see. I mean, but then again, if there was a penalty and like all that stuff, but I feel like they do need to change it because it's 7.7. It's down that much. But I feel like if they do like that, it's gonna go up to like 40%. Like I feel like it's gonna be one of those things that a lot of teams will be able to convert more often. Another one that is tabled, that's the biggest one that I think that needs to be addressed this offseason, is the overtime changes.
Yeah.
Now, one of the overtime changes that I was discussing with someone would be you could you can have a coin flip or you can eliminate it, but you should have like a 2 minute drill. So you put 2 minutes on the clock, and you have one team. Say you have the Giants and Cowboys. And then say the Cowboys won the toss, so they would defer. So every team gets the ball, and it's the 2 minute drill. Each team gets it. So say the Giants kick off, the Dallas kicks off, Giants get it. Giants kick a field goal. Dallas goes, they go and they kick a field goal as well. That doesn't end. Now it goes straight back, and then now Dallas gets the ball first. They drive down. Say they get a touchdown, and the Giants go and they can't convert. Then it's done. But both teams get an option to get it, and you keep going. You do the 2 minute drill with one timeout. So everyone gets the ball, everyone has a fair chance, and it's a 2 minute drill. The whole length of a football field to get a touchdown or to get a field goal. You can score anyway, and then that's it. We just do something like that where both teams were able to get the ball.
Yeah, I agree with the main point of both teams getting the ball because that's just something that
Needs to be done.
Like I know a lot of people, they're for it, and then some are against it, and it'll seem better and more competitive if both teams are able to get the ball. And we've seen it in college football. Some games just keep going back and forth. It's pretty entertaining to see.
Yeah, 6-7 overtimes, and it's cool to see that.
Yeah, like last year it was LSU.
Yes.
And somebody went into, they had scored like 70-some points. I mean,
that's interesting. And not even that, but think about the fantasy prospect on that. Imagine if you had a player who got a bunch of more yards or got 2 or 3 more touchdowns because imagine if you're a quarterback and your quarterback threw for 3 more touchdowns than he should have been. Imagine in fantasy you would have won a lot more. You got a lot more points. You could have, fantasy aspect that jumps as well.
And it's just the way the NFL has it now. It's like it's too sophisticated. Like
it is.
If you go down the field, you score a field goal, so you score points. The other team can get the ball. But if you go down the field first and you score a touchdown, the game's over. It's like, well,
yeah.
It's like it shouldn't be that way. Like, obviously your goal is to score a touchdown, but that shouldn't really end the game right away. Like,
yes.
Like instead of saying, well, I didn't score a touchdown, but at least I scored a field goal, but now the other team gets a chance. Like, I just think that either way, whatever points you score, if you do, that won't just end the game. It just gives another opportunity for the other team. But, it just makes it, I don't know, it just makes it weird. Like, it makes you, obviously you want to score a touchdown more than a field goal, but I mean, I don't know. I don't like how it is because, it's too, I don't know. It's just too sophisticated. Like if you go down and score a touchdown, that's it. You're done.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The other team doesn't even get a chance.
Yes. If I'm the team if my team was the one who scores the touchdown right away, yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But of course, my team just won. But they do need to change that. I 100% agree. Now let's quickly stay in the NFL, but let's jump over to Rob Gronkowski, who just retired. And of course, everyone is agreeing that he's a Hall of Famer. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. But
oh yeah.
Do you think he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer? I do not. I just feel like, I just feel like, people are going to say, oh, he was too childish. And just like his numbers weren't the greatest compared to other tight ends.
Right, yeah. When you look at his
do you think he will be a first ballot, though?
I don't know if I would personally have him as a first ballot, but I'm sure that's what's going to happen.
I don't think so.
But it's just the only reason why I say it is just because the way he's been treated, and I don't know. It just seems like it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I look at his stats, though, I mean, obviously you can't deny he's a four-time first-team All-Pro. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's been in multiple Super Bowls. He's won 3 of them. He was a 2014 AP Comeback Player of the Year. And his overall stats, career stats, in 115 games, he had 521 catches, 7,861 yards, and 79 touchdowns. But because I know a lot of people are saying that Rob Gronkowski is the greatest tight end of all time. I completely disagree with that.
I don't even know if he's going to be in my top 5, honestly. So my top 5, number 1, Tony Gonzalez, easily. He's just look at it's everything that he is, just the best tight end. Number 2 is Jason Witten. Number 3 that's when it starts getting tough. Number 3, I have the San Diego Chargers tight end, Keelan Winslow.
Oh yeah.
Not, and then number 4, I have the other Chargers tight end, Antonio Gates. And then at number 5, I would have Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, and the way mine looks right now, Tony Gonzalez would be my number 1. When I looked at all-time receiving, and this is counting wide receivers too, by the way.
Yes.
He's ranked number 2 with receptions at 1,325, and he's behind Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice is the one who leads the way. And then when I look at tight ends, he is 8th with 111. And like I said, this is counting receivers as well.
Yes.
For yards, he's number 6 with 15,127.
Exactly. So we all know his numbers are amazing.
Oh yeah.
So
and then number 2, I would say Jason Witten, because he's number 4 on the receptions list.
Yes.
And
he was the fastest tight end to reach, I believe, 600 catches.
I believe so. Yeah, it was something like that.
Yes, he's the fastest tight end to reach 600 catches, and he already holds the record for most consecutive games played by a tight end with 235 games. Right,
and he's ranked number 21 on the all-time yards, and that is I believe he's the second tight end on the list. Tony Gonzalez was first, Witten was second at 21st.
Who's your number 3?
Number 3, I would have Antonio Gates, because I'm looking at his stats. He leads Tony Gonzalez and Jason Witten in tight ends. He's tied at 6 with 116, and he's also still active, so he can put up some numbers still. And same with Witten. Witten's coming back.
Exactly.
So add some numbers,
So who's at number 4? So you have, who's at number 4 then?
Number 4, it was tough, but I was thinking about Shannon Sharp.
Okay, yep.
And I think basically he's number 31 on all-time receptions with tight ends and wide receivers at 815.
Yeah.
And he was an incredible tight end when he played. And number 5 is where it kind of gets tough for me, because somewhat I could put Gronk in there because looking at his numbers.
Exactly.
But people forget though that there's a guy that's still active. I have 2 guys I could fit in there besides Gronk, but there's one guy that people forget about that he's still active, and that's Jimmy Graham.
No, not even close. He would not even in the top 10.
But here's the thing though: when you compare Rob Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham, this is why I bring him up, because.
But this is why I don't even count Jimmy Graham, because Jimmy Graham is a glorified. He's just a big wide receiver. He can't block with crap. He's a terrible blocker. A tight end, a true tight end, don't need to be in the top tight ends. You're not necessarily need to be a good catcher, but you need to be blocking as well. That's why. No, he is not.
Oh yeah, but the way I'm comparing these guys right now is kind of like based off the receiving.
Yeah, but you can't just look at the receiving. You have to look at how well they impacted the offensive line too.
Oh yeah, but just comparing the numbers though. I mean, Jimmy Graham, he's a first-team All-Pro. That was only one time in 2013. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. Obviously Gronk has him right on those parts, but when you compare the two, Gronk had 521 catches and Jimmy Graham had 611. And with that, Rob Gronkowski is at 7,861. Jimmy Graham is at 7,436. And Gronk is at 79 touchdowns. Jimmy Graham's at 71.
I can't believe you would mention Jimmy Graham nearing Gronk before you even mentioned Mike Ditka.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Graham is not... I don't even know if Jimmy Graham might be in a Hall of Fame, to be honest.
Well, I was just throwing out those numbers because it's very similar, and he's still in the league, so he could pass Gronk in a couple of receiving yards and touchdowns.
I just feel like people are going to look at how well he can block, and I feel like that's going to be the huge hinder on him. Now,
but the guy I also had, a lot of people forget about it, is Ozzie Newsome.
Yes. Yeah,
he's already in the Hall of Fame in '99. He was a first-team All-Pro in '84, three-time Pro Bowler.
Yep, exactly.
So, he doesn't have as many touchdowns, but you got to think, back in the, '80s, these tight ends weren't used that much for receivers.
No, they were blockers.
You know what I mean? They were just big maulers, And nowadays, you look at the Giants, Evan Ingram. He's hardly a tight end, but he is a tight end. You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys are totally different prospects than they used to be. So
since we're ranking and going all that stuff, let's quickly jump over to our ESPN March Madness Tournament Challenge to see how everyone's doing. Right now you have RJ Monroe, who is leading with 520 points, who has Duke winning it all. And then we have a three-way tie for second place. You have yourself, Dylan Davis, myself, Josh Velasquez, and our combined bracket, the J&D Sports Show, are tied for second with 500 points. Dylan has Texas Tech winning it all. I have Virginia, and then we both decided that we would have North Carolina winning it. But when you look at who was in first place in the max, go over how many points they can get, if everyone were to get the games correct from now on, who would win it would be a two-way tie between you and me with 1780. And then in second place would be RJ Monroe. But right now, congratulations, RJ Monroe. You are winning it through this with 96.9% correct. And you, me, and the J&D Sports Show bracket have 90.7 correct. And let's go down to see who is in last place. In last place, you have James Rebel with 390. And then you have Mason Delash with a 440. So those two, James has a 22.1% correct, and Mason, you have a 49.7% correct. So those are just a quick update on the J&D Sports Show.
And I'll tell you what, a lot of people have been enjoying it. I know RJ and I have been talking back and forth.
Yes.
He's had a couple Cinderella stories, like he was talking about UC Irving.
Yes, he has. I've been looking at his too, and he has a couple of good ones.
Belmont. He had Belmont going pretty far. I caught up with him in Walmart the other day, and we were talking a little bit about it. He was talking about Belmont and stuff. But even before that, he was just talking about some of the underappreciated teams, and it's just I know a lot of people have been having fun in the tournament. It's been fun to have everybody a part of it.
The next week's show, we will have the leader and who's doing it from then on. But that's just a quick seeing who's doing that. Now let's jump right straight back to the NFL on NFL trade rumors / draft. So the biggest one is that everyone is talking about right now is that the Arizona Cardinals and Josh Rosen have a three teams that are interested in acquiring Josh Rosen. You have the Cardinals. If the Cardinals decide to trade Josh Rosen, they are going to be able, or most likely be able to take those negotiations into a bidding war because there are 3 different teams. According to Joe Klatt from Fox Sport, and the three teams are very interested. One of them is the 3 teams are the Patriots, the Giants, and the Chargers. So obviously you would have, coincidentally, 3 quarterbacks who are going to retire soon, and you need a successor. You would have Tom Brady, Eli Manning, and Philip Rivers. So you have, those chances of someone, Josh Rosen being a successor to him. So, I feel like those are the teams that will eventually get him. It's just, I saw earlier that the Giants offered a second-round pick for him, but they want a first-round pick. And I feel like right now, the Giants of course, have the best option to because they have 2 first-round picks, but I don't know if they're going to be willing to trade one of them. But the team that I feel like also has the biggest leverage for a first-round pick is the Patriots with that 32nd overall pick, I believe.
Mm-hmm. The Cardinals could get the first and the last pick of the first round.
Exactly. But I feel like, because it was the 32nd, it's so late. I feel like, teams probably might be more willing to give that up, even though then, you won't have that much. But I feel like if I'm a GM, I would go, you can have, if I can get him, I would give up that. It's pretty much a second rounder.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest room that's floating around.
If that happened, the Patriots would have a steal there because Rosen being selected at number 10 and they gave up a 32nd, overall pick is, like you said, a borderline a second round pick. So, obviously, those 3 teams are going to need a quarterback pretty soon.
Another team that I think is interested in it, off of just the coach's remarks, is the Redskins. Because he just casually mentioned that he didn't really think that Rosen was available for a trade. But I know that they're looking for a quarterback because of the terrible injury of Alex Smith. But I feel like, if that happened, I feel like they would be intrigued to go for him as well.
Right, and there's only 2 major concerns with Rosen. Is number 1, he had the injuries in college. He had the surgery on his shoulder. He had a couple concussions his senior year. And number 2, it's been really portrayed in the media as a narrative. I know some people disagree with it. I tend to agree with it more than I disagree, is his attitude and ego that he has. I think that, we saw right after the draft, he said that there were 9 mistakes made before him.
Yeah, but that
right
happens.
Away.
That's not a big deal. Players do that all the time when they get picked, when they get drafted. When they're told they're going to be top. Like I don't think that's wrong because that happens all the time. You see that every single year. When you interview.
Well, I mean, it was like Leonard Fournette. He did the same thing the year before, but it's just. I mean,
that's not a big deal. Like that happens every single year. That always happens. It's just that's for the fans. That's for the fans to get pumped up. So I don't think that's an ego problem. I feel like that's just for the fans. Like, I'm the best QB. Because you need to tell yourself you're the best QB in that draft. And if you don't believe it, then I'm not going to have you. If you don't think you're the number 1 QB, then I don't want you. So if you say that, then that reassures the fans. Like, I think I'm going to be good. I'm going to be the best that I can play. I don't feel like that's not an attitude issue.
But see, that's what he should be portraying, though. When you come into
that's what players say all the time. Look at Lamar Jackson saying, "Look at win a Super Bowl." Like that's not an issue at all. That's just, he's a kid. They'll get an interview. That's not an issue at all.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just some of the way he's carried himself this year. I can see in some of his interviews, he has a little arrogance to him, and it's just he had it in college too. It was a big thing. It's really something that is going to have to be corrected because when you, especially at the quarterback position on a team, that person's going to be one of the ones that are going to be the face of your franchise. The last thing you want is a distraction, and I know if he went to New York, you know how the media is. Look at everything with Odell when he had antics going on, how big it got as a distraction. You don't want to have that, and especially at the quarterback position, you don't want to have that type of narrative. So it's just, I think it's a little bit of a concern. It's just something that you have to think about, because there's, you can have players like when you come out of the draft. I mean, they can say, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to, work my tail off. And
but that's in reality, no player will say that.
No, but that's what it should be a first class type thing.
Yeah, but it's you have to realize that's not going to happen. So like that never happens.
I mean,
you say like I'm going to be the best. I'm going to do this. That's what happens.
Yeah, but you look at some of the players, like someone like Saquon Barkley. He never said he's going to be the best running back.
Yeah, but they don't ask running backs that.
He's going to come into the building. He's going to work hard.
Because quarterbacks are the number one position on the offense. So they're the ones who are the captains. They're the ones who are running the ship. So those are the people who, because no one really cares what the running back says. People care what the quarterback says.
But like Saquon's already becoming a leader. Like that's what I'm saying. His mentality and his humbleness is making him emerge as a leader versus someone that comes in and they have an arrogant attitude or their ego.
I don't think his attitude was arrogant. I just feel like he was with a terrible team. He knew he was with a terrible team. And let's just quickly jump over to people who have distractions and whatnot. And now let's just quickly, Conor McGregor, he retired, and I think he didn't retire because he wanted to retire, but I think because of what happened, because now he's being probed for sexual assault amid his announcement. So I think he knew he was about to get probed for it. So I think he retired just in time so he could save his butt. I don't know if you want. I just quickly wanted to say that. Do you have anything to say about that, or not really?
I think that a lot of people think that it had nothing to do with his decision, but I think it had a part of it.
Yeah,
I feel the other part of me is just he hasn't.
His body's, it's a tough sport to play and whatnot. So I feel like, that had something to do with it. But I feel like another had an issue with just this is not his first time running to the police. This is a repeated offense, so I feel like he's like, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah, because part of it, I mean, the last fight he's done was like 2016.
He just fought. No, he just had a fight.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, because what I read earlier today. Oh, he's had only one fight since 2016. Yeah, that's what it was. So he just had one, but before that it was 2016.
Then because he boxed against Floyd Mayweather in 2017. Yeah.
Because he said he retired, a couple years ago, and then he came back, and then now he's retired again. So it makes you wonder if he's gonna, once this stuff, if it gets cleared up or whatever, it makes you wonder if he's gonna come back again. And
I don't think he will. I think, especially now, he has his baby, and I feel like a baby, so I feel like he's ready to just call it a career, and I feel like this is done, especially of what happened. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does come back, but I don't think he will. Now let's stay in that police light, because it seems like every other day we get more information or new leads or new updates about Robert Kraft and that whole scandal going on. So he pleads not guilty and he asks a trial by jury. And now most people are looking at it like, okay, he's guilty, he needs to be punished because he's an owner, NFL owner, and of course because of he's with the Patriots. But the biggest thing is that, of course, if everyone doesn't know, in February, Palm Beach County authorities announced that Robert Kraft videotaped twice paying for a sex act in an illicit massage parlor. Kraft, who was 77, is among more than 200 people who engage in those kinds of acts. If he is eventually convicted, he could face up to 100 hours of community service and a $5,000 fine. And quickly, before everyone's saying, he needs to be fined for more than that, blah, 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 because he's an NFL owner, he's a billionaire, he's making all this money. It doesn't matter how rich you are. That's the crime punishment. So if you did the same thing, those would be the same exact fines for you. So I just want to clear it up just to make sure people complaining that he's not getting done. And then, of course, everyone says that there were a lot of people reported that there was a plea that him and a bunch of other people offered, and they all rejected it. And now me thinking, just a thinker, when I see that, I don't. It starts getting fishy that maybe something is up, because if you would have, say, you would have 100 people and 90, even 50, 60% and more took that plea, then you'd say, okay, yes, they did it. They all did it. Those people just don't think they did it, and they very strongly think otherwise. But when you have no one take that plea deal, that makes me think, maybe they didn't really have anything on them. Maybe they're not guilty. Maybe some of them are, but maybe some of them aren't guilty. And now the biggest thing is that they were not human traffic workers. They were just I guess you could say, regular, normal citizens who lived in Florida. They were just, it could have been probably someone's mom. So I feel like he was going to beat it, in my opinion. I think he's going to beat all these allegations. And of course, everyone's going to say, oh, it's because he's of the Patriots. They're always cheating. They're always doing this, blah, 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 blah. But I just feel like something's fishy. And then Roger Goodell said again Tuesday night that when it will be done after they get all the facts, they will have a fair. They will give out the punishment. So if he's found not guilty, then he's not going to get any punishment. But if he is found guilty, then he will get punished. That's why the NFL has not done anything to Robert Kraft.
Right, and going back to some of it, if some of them, well, all of them, they did take the plea deal. Some of it makes you, because if they did take it, then they are technically guilty, because they have to say, if the case went to trial,
have to say
they would be found guilty.
They would have to admit that happened, and the video of that would get dismissed. So
right.
So I feel like that's also another reason why. I just feel like there's more to the story that has not in the public.
Right, and then when you were talking about the Roger Goodell situation, obviously you want to have owners and any people, whether it be owners, coaches, staff, you want them to be held accountable the same way these players are. And I know you remember this clearly, but Ezekiel Elliott was not guilty.
I still don't understand what happened there.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So people are going to go back and say, well, wait a minute.
So for those who don't know what Dylan is talking about, Ezekiel Elliott last season, so in his second season, was accused of domestic violence or sexual abuse. I can't think of it straight away right now.
I think it was domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
I think that's what it was.
They went to court. He was found not guilty. Not guilty. So I was like, okay, not guilty. He won his case. So he can play all 16 games, right? Nope. NFL puts down a punishment on him and everything, suspends him for a couple of games. And I was like, well, how can you do that? If they find him guilty, how can you find him guilty? That shouldn't be the thing.
Right. So, because, I think some of this, even if Robert Kraft is not found guilty or anything,
I feel like
you still wonder if he still violated some of the NFL personal conduct policy, Because sometimes you don't have to be guilty. Sometimes you just have to be, there's certain guidelines where, So, and I think it makes some people frustrated if they just gave him a slap on the wrist or didn't even do anything. And then they'll say, well, wait a minute, you punished Zeke 6 games. And that's another part. How do you punish an owner? You know what I mean? Like, how do you punish them?
Exactly.
And it's like, and me and you were talking about that before the show. Like, how would you punish Robert Kraft if you did? And it's like, that's kind of hard to do because he's not playing in the games. It doesn't matter if, if he was there or not.
And it's not like it was, with Bounty Gate or whatnot, where you can punish the owner and the coaches, take away draft picks, take away cap space, fine, all you can really do is fine him, say he can't, I'm interested in seeing what happens.
And the NFL, especially with this, as much of a high profile the Patriots are, but in particular Robert Kraft, they're definitely going to want to make sure they do this right because they've done
so many things wrong.
Yeah, so this one
is huge.
Definitely has to be right,
Yes. So this was the J&D Sports Show. Once again, I'm your host, Joshua Velasquez.
And I'm Dylan Davis.
And have a good day.